Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last of my Meet the Talks at Second Life 18 birthday. And today, as you'll see, rather than just talking one-to-one, I'm meeting the moles, and rather a lot of them I'm meeting, although I gather not all of them are going to be talking. So what I'd like to do is start by asking asking the moles. There are a lot of you here, and some of you, in fact, looking around, most of you look distinctly unmole-like. So let's start with a very basic question. For those who may not know, what is a mole in Second Life? And Patch is going to choose who answers.
Me?
Or maybe answer himself. Yeah, Squeaky.
Oh, I don't know.
Squeaky said.
Oh, maybe Abner. Why don't you take this one?
Okay, so the question is, could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. For those who may not know, what is a mole in Second Life?
What is a mole in Second Life? A mole in Second Life is somebody who works as a contractor for Linden Lab to create in-world content for the LDPW, which is the Linden Department of Public Works, and that's exactly what it is. We're contractors who work to make the things while the Lindens work on the viewer and the whole backbone of what makes Second Life work. We're creating the content and some of the experiences and the things as a public service for the lab.
Mm-hmm. So I think it started off with doing quite a lot of stuff on the mainland, didn't it? Maybe the ones who are older moles will be able to answer that. Patch? Who should answer that? Abner, would you like to answer that? Because I know you've been a mole
I'm
for
probably
years.
one of the oldest moles here, so yeah. The LDPW originally we were making a lot of the mainland roads. That's what a lot of it was. Yeah, we were beautifying the mainland. The mainland roads were parceled off when the mainland continents were created, but there was no actual infrastructure in them. There was no road. There was no anything. A lot of them were just green spaces. So we were contracted to create the roads and the bridges and all of that to connect all of those together on the mainland. And then we kind of moved into some of the Linden Seas and some of the other things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some fantastic underwater builds, aren't there?
There are a few. We did some of the we did some of the seas. We put some underwater content in. Some of them we didn't. Yeah, it was just a kind of a build as we go thing and trying to just pretty things up.
But you've kind of expanded what you do since those early days. First of all, there were the old Linden homes. Is anyone able to talk about the old Linden homes?
I can probably, I mean, they are old, so I could probably address that too. Yes, they were. I want to say around 2010, so they're 10 years old or 12 years old now almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were the original Linden homes. We built those as a well, people kind of know what they are. They're a home that is. Oop, we lost Patch. Okay. Yes, the Linden homes were created in a system so that the 512 at the time tier that comes with your premium account, you could you could use that towards a parcel on the mainland, or you could opt to have one of these Linden homes, which was a 512 with a house that didn't count against your count against the land impact, or prims at the time, as we called them, of the parcel. And
Mm.
they were wildly popular when they first came out. In fact, the entire continental mass was cloned 4 times. I think it was
Wow.
4 times. Yeah.
Wow. But yes, I mean they were prims, they were sculpts, I guess, and of
I
course mesh could cut down the number
I'm
considerably.
not even sure if they were sculpts. I think they were just prims.
Prims,
Yeah.
right. So eventually the moles have taken over responsibility for what must be a really huge project, which is Belissaria, or in some people's pronunciation, Belissaria. Um,
Belissaria. It's,
Belissaria, yeah,
tomato,
yeah.
tomato. Yeah. It
Just potato, yeah. So, can anyone tell me about Belissaria and how that came to be?
Should I answer that one too? Unless
Yeah,
somebody
if
else
you're
wants
the
to.
one who
Okay.
knows.
Yeah. Yes, Belissaria was. So we decided to just, instead of just calling it Linden Homes 2, we decided to give it a name because
Mm,
it came about as a revamping of the original Linden Homes. It was
right.
like, okay, those things are going on 10 years old now. They're long in the tooth. We need to update it to something that's more current. So we decided to say, okay, let's take the Linden Homes model
Mm,
and take what we've also learned over the years from things like Horizons, when we did
mhm,
the Horizons project, and sort of incorporate some of those things into this thing that we're doing.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
One is that, you choose your theme, and then you can choose your house within the theme, which means all the houses have
yeah,
to, fit on the parcel exactly, the same
mm,
way. Um, so I mean, there are other constraints that comes with the way things did it. It's complicated. It's extremely complicated. But yeah, uh, so we started building it, and it again was wildly popular, and we're still struggling to um, put them out. And there have been a few evolutions in the way we do that along the way, but
mm,
originally it wasn't supposed to connect the continents, and we
right.
I mean, some of the residents suggested that, and we looked at it and we think, okay, is this actually something we can do?
Mm,
And we decided, okay, yeah, we're gonna go for it, and we're gonna make this new continent that actually connects the most of the major land masses on the original mainland. And today it
and
does.
and Patch was saying in his talk on Tuesday that the latest theme, which is fantasy, is actually going to be its own subcontinent.
Yes, it is. We're not entirely sure whether or not it's going to connect, but it's such a vastly different theme from the others. We said, okay, this needs to have its own area. Um, because, putting a traditional or a Victorian or a chalet home or a stilt home next to
Mm,
the fantasy homes is just it's too drastic
yeah.
of a difference. It's not going to work. So we need to have it kind of segregated off onto its own area. Um, and now the question is, do we connect it or do we not? And we have options on that, as always.
I'm thinking, yes, maybe a fantasy rainbow bridge or something. Well, maybe not a rainbow bridge. That's has a special meaning for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
that
Yeah,
I'm
a
going across the
fantasy
Rainbow
bridge.
Bridge. Okay, bye. It was nice knowing you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't really. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But as well as doing Belisaria and all these different themes of homes, you also landscape the continent, and that must be a huge job. Can someone who's done that maybe speak to what's involved in creating? Would someone like to speak?
I
'Cause
can
I
speak. I have no problem. I mean, the thing is that Abner is involved in many, many areas. Of course, the information that he can always provide, we're like, yes, Abner, go talk, because like
yes.
he can say way more than Will can say. Yes. No, but with the recreation, well, I think it's gone through a lot of like phases. I gotta say, I started in the very first with the traditional homes working there. And the system from that to now is completely different. It's always been very enjoying, like you can enjoy a lot of it, but it's a very well-oiled machine. It's very important that all the team like understands each other, the different styles of decorating, how you can use the different stuff, the rules that we have for each stuff. Because then everything just fits together very well. It is a huge task, but I think like with people like Abner that he does like all the roads and the infrastructure, then you can see the vision that the whole theme has, and it just goes together. Like each person's job helps the other one to see where we all have to go together.
So what sort of jobs are there?
See that I would have to tell you go back to Abner.
Abner.
Okay, yeah, it's very much a process, like Aletta said. First, we come in and we look at the region and we say, and I'll get into this really quickly. There's two main ways that we're making these regions. One is something we started when we did the Victorians, which what we do is we make templates, which is about 3 dozen regions or so, or say about 30, about 30 regions that are templated. They're made in ways that so that they can fit together. Think of like a playing the game Tetris, how you can move the pieces around and they fit together. That can fit together no matter which ones they're connecting to. And that allows us to put a large number of regions out relatively quickly because we can make 30 regions turn into 150 regions or 250 regions or 500 regions, however many we need in order to get the number. Now, does that mean that they're all, that there are similarities? Yes, and we were originally worried about that when is it going to look like just a repeat all through the entire thing? And
Right.
you can see that on the map. You can see, okay, oh, yeah, I see this region right here. That's just a copy of this one over here. Excuse me. And yes, it is. But that's looking at the map. And when you're on the ground and you're actually walking around, it's you don't feel like
Right.
I'm it's like if you ever watched the old Scooby-Doo cartoons when they're running from the monsters and you see
Yes.
like the same armoire go by 15
Yeah.
times, because they're
Yeah.
just running it by. You don't have that feeling when you're doing that. But
No,
yeah,
you
there's
don't.
lots of levels to when we do it. First, we come in and we say, okay, what's this region going to look like? Is this a region that, and this applies more towards the live, the build is the regions that we're doing live. Is this a region that's going to have a lot of houses?
Right.
If it's not going to have a lot of houses, it may not be worth having any houses because then we can knock it down to a homestead. But if it's going to be a full region and have houses in it, we want to make sure that it has enough houses that region supports itself from a business aspect for the lab, and then go in and decide where the houses are going to go, what are the paths and the roads, how are they going to go, how are these going to connect to each other, everything, which direction is the parcel going to face, and then look at each individual parcel and to try to get the best that we can for each one to make them. We can't make them all identical, and we don't want to make them all identical, but we want to make
No.
them somewhat equivalent.
So that people won't be too cross if they end up with something that,
That's actually a big thing. When we're doing these, we're always constantly looking at it from the aspect of, I don't want whoever gets this house, and maybe it isn't the perfect house for them. Maybe it doesn't have that specific thing that they're looking for. But we don't want them to look at it and look across the street at the neighboring house, and go, well, that one was done way better than mine. You know, how come they have all these flowers in front of their house and I've got this little, thick twig of a rhododendron? We want to have, our goal is to have it so that no matter which house you get, maybe it isn't the perfect one for you, but it's not a bad house. There's a house out there. There's somebody out there who will love that house. It isn't going to be like that. But after we lay it all out, we run everything, and then we have, the entire crew comes in. They start putting in the trees. They start putting in the bushes. They're looking at, how can I place this tree so that resident A over here doesn't always have to look directly into the backyard of resident B over here, and make the terrain interesting, give it some rocks, put in some flowers over here, put in some bushes over here. Yes, this all looks pretty good. And every region and every template region, when we make them, there's just a little bit different rules when we make the template regions, are done in a way so that we're looking at it from the resident's perspective when we're building around that house. Imagining ourselves in that house and go, what would I like to see? What is good for this location? I've got a nice view. Let me frame that view instead of putting a tree in the middle of it.
I was thinking though, being Second Life, there are probably some people who would absolutely adore being able to look into their neighbour's garden, if not their neighbour's bedroom,
Oh, they might, but I'm sure their neighbor wouldn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we try to do as much of that as possible. Is to try to give each parcel an element of privacy, balanced with an element of having a nice view, and being in a nice location, and just having some nice decoration around it.
So,
I often say that a lot of what we do is we're creating a frame, because we want this to be someplace where the resident can actually do their thing inside of their house. Yes, we have rules about keeping it presentable and within the theme and all of that, but we want them to be creative within that environment of their home, and we're creating a framework around it, and they're painting the picture inside.
So, as well, do all the moles have to be builders, or are there some other roles that moles have that don't necessitate them actually building?
As far as creating content, yeah. I mean, I don't remember the last time I actually created some content. I'm using things that were created by other people. I'm using things that are created by Ancient, by Chronos, by by Magic, and Xeno, and all of these other excellent people who are making spending hours of time painstakingly creating these things the best that they can, and then it's going through our whole QA process to make sure that it really is the best that we can, and then handing it to us, and we're like, okay, here's our toolkit, and this is what we go out, and then this is what we make with it.
That's very cool. So I know that as well as creating the homes and the Belisaria continent, the moles have also done a lot with games. Are there any sort of moles who've specialised in games who can tell me about the games you've created? Patch? Who should I ask?
That's kind of
Okay.
another Abner question.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's just that we're very fresh here. This batch of moles that you have is very fresh.
Yeah. I kind of, yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to say 2014, 15, maybe 16.
Mhm.
We started making. Actually, it was even before that. But the original Linden Realms. We've made
Yeah.
a few game properties. We've got the Linden Realms. We've
Mhm.
got Paleo Quest. Actually, it started with the Cornfield. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Cornfield as a game came after Linden Realms. I think Linden Realms was the first game, but
I'm
maybe I'm
not
wrong.
entirely sure. It may have. Yes. Cornfield was the first one we did that used experience. We uses the KVP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little fuzzy on the timing. It's been, a
A
whirlwind.
long time. Yeah.
But yeah, we have the Cornfield and Linden Realms, and we have Paleo Quest, and Linden Realms was the one that was actually a dollar amount that you could get when you're paying it. It was the first one. Paleo Quest, you can. We've done other things that actually don't exist anymore. There was a grid hunt that we did. That's
I remember that. Yes.
right. I think we kind of. I think that one was a little too ambitious, but some of the content is still out there.
Mm.
Yeah, and a lot of them are still played to this day. It surprises me that, there are people who actually really still enjoy playing the Cornfield, going out and shooting the griefers and stuff. And it was just sort of a silly premise, but yeah.
Mm. I think I've been killed in all of them
Yeah.
in various horrible ways. Yeah.
And that's intentional. I mean, I remember a point when we started doing Paleo Quest.
Hmm.
And it was the second level where you have to jump over the rocks to get past the Nessie monster in order to get through it. And a lot of the moles, as we're testing it and stuff, they're saying, "This is too hard. I can't do this. It's too hard." And it's like, that's actually because there was a big debate between us. Do we make it easier, or do we make it hard? Because this is a game and we want it to be challenging. If it's too easy, people are just going to go in and they're going to run through it really quick and go, all right, yeah, whatever. And they're never going to come back. But if you give them enough of a challenge and you find that balance, and that's what a lot of it is a balance. If you find that balance between it is hard, it is challenging, but it's not impossible, then people will do that. And I think a lot of people playing the Paleo Quest game have become better at jumping and moving on their keyboards from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the next thing to talk about is events, because moles also play a role in creating events. There's the things you can find at the oh gosh, what's it called? The place where you've got all the entry points.
The Portal Park.
Portal Park, that's it. And you've got a number of portal parks, number of instances of the portal park, and also a number of instances of most of the places you can get to, the games and things. But some of the things you can get to aren't games specifically, they're actually events. So you've got the Halloween ride, and you've also got the Winter Wonderland, the sort of seasonal ones that are things to visit. And of course, supremely, you've got SL18B.
Yes, those are the seasonal things.
Mm.
Let's see. There's Winter Wonderland, which comes out in the winter, of course.
Yeah.
I Love You.
Thank you,
Which is
Abner. I'm very touched. But don't you feel this is a little public for a declaration?
it's surprising. I don't know how many people get that. They read it on their aisle of view. It's not until you actually say it out loud and you go, oh, wait, oh, that's so cheeky. I see what you did there. But that comes around around Valentine's Day. And then we have the SL birthday, which is now
Mhm.
at the end of June. We have the Halloween, which is of course in the fall.
Yeah.
And then we're right back to winter again.
Right. So, who've been the moles behind organising SL18B?
That is not a question for me, so somebody else finally gets to speak.
Yes. Okay.
The one
Not-
is the
not-
one that had the cushions and is gone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
actually the
sadly,
point where the
it seems like
sound-
Missy's also had her share of
Yeah. So,
where we've had our share of connection problems today. But Missy's the one who's usually responsible for most of the organization of SL18B along with Squeaky. And then there's a whole host of additional folks, not just moles, but also volunteers from the resident community and stuff that also help run the entire
mm,
I can probably maybe even pass it off to, I think Dion might be here, for example. He kind of had, I don't think his
I know that
mic.
when
I don't know who else might be on mic that has a particular. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I certainly ran into Itza several times when I was setting up the build.
Yeah, it's absolutely. But yeah, maybe Dion and Itza can talk a little bit about their individual involvements, and if Missy happens to hop back in at some point, she can too. But I'm not sure where she's at.
Yeah,
sure.
of course.
I think it's can start off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go on, Itza. Tell us about how the you can start off. Tell us about how it works for SL18B.
Well, it works, first of all, in my view, not with us, the moles, but with the volunteers. If there are no volunteers, then the event wouldn't be there. It's like Pat said, Missy does, together with Squeaky, lots of work to get it all organized and to keep an overview of everything. But it's not just not the week of partying. It's also the work that the volunteers do before it really actually starts off the whole event. First contact with performers and exhibitors. There's so much that comes through. I'm glad I don't have to organize it all. For instance, also building the regions. That's a team who does that. Where do you want to start? There's so much aspects of the whole event.
Right.
So basically, the main coordination is done by Squeaky and Missy. They are responsible for most of all the applications, from exhibits to the shopping up to the performers. And of course, we work with a lot of volunteers. There's a large group of volunteers helping with the stages. They are basically handling and dealing with all of the performances.
Right.
And of course, we have a large group of volunteers that are greeters and hosts, which
Right.
is my department within SLB. I'm the lead coordinator, and Aloda and Noda are my co-coordinators for the greeters and hosts.
Mhm.
I think this year we had an extreme amount of applications being sent our way on all platforms. I can only speak for the greeter role, of course, because that's my department.
Mhm.
I think right now we have over 100 volunteers as greeters and hosts. And I have
Wow.
to say that this year they are doing an amazing job. They are covering and helping out like over all the regions we have for SLB, including Shop and Up. So that's like a total of 40 regions, and they are doing a great job. I just couldn't be more proud of them. So thank you to you all.
Yes, it certainly seemed to run incredibly smoothly.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
And yes, I've really enjoyed it because it has run so smoothly. And here, of course, we have the wonderful V, who's been compiling all my note cards and giving them to me, so that getting all the notes, all the questions from the audience, and then passing them to me so that I can ask all sorts of questions. And Alotta, you want to say something at this point?
Yeah, I wanted to add that there's so much planning we can do for SLB, but the people that actually make this shine are all the residents. Like, seriously, we just set the base for everything else to start happening. Without any of the residents' help, not even half of what happens here will be as amazing as it is.
Hmm.
What really makes the events the way it is what all the work that the residents do while they're here.
I noticed that this year you've had some outside people building at least one of the stages.
Yes, the DJ stage, all that section over there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that was. I love Walter Wainwright's build, so I was really pleased to see him back.
Yes, it's a really amazing structure, and we're always glad when the residents can have more of a space and show their creations, just like the exhibits, that they can just let their creativity loose and explore so many areas. So that's why I say that what really makes this event what it is the residents. It is the real celebration.
Yeah, it really has some gorgeous resident builds this year. So I'm sort of wandering around looking for things I can show on Designing Worlds, and I'm kind of, going, I want to show this one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
Yeah, you can get lost for hours in there.
Yeah. In fact, I'm looking forward to next week, because next week I've got time to explore. So I want to ask, you have fantastic avatars. Do you actually get a clothing budget to build your avatar, or do you just go away and shop?
We just go away and shop. We have lovely budget things to Mr. Derek Linden that he just makes it happen. we can just buy we can be what play like shape color we want to be, like you want to be like magic, that is an amazing dragon, garden, or you just want to be like us, they're pretty just normal humans, or you want to be a furry. It all depends on how you want to portray yourself, and we keep switching, to be honest, because it's just fun to have like a different look. And I was the other day a frog, and so it all depends on the mood that you have. But yes.
Oh, I like the idea of having Ruth Mole, and a mole who wanders around being Ruth the whole time. So you also, by your accents, come from many different parts of the world. Can you tell me about that? The ones who are speaking at the moment, where you're from. If we start at the front left, go along the front row with people who are speaking, and then go round the back row. I know you're not all speaking, so you are. So if you start.
Yep, I'll start it off. I'm Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands.
Okay. Who's next? Lotta, can you speak?
I think I can.
Yay!
I'm from Michigan.
Okay. Alotta?
Yes, sorry, pressing all the buttons. I'm from Venezuela, so very far. But yes.
Okay. And Patch, as we know, is in Florida with a terrible connection at the moment, and usually in Atlanta. Okay, Abner, what about
Yep.
you?
Just a little stormy.
Aha! Again! So, Abner, whereabouts are you from?
I'm actually about 2 hours away from where Nada lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Cronus? Are you
I'm
talking?
Yep. I'm British. I'm in the UK.
Right. Garden? Oh, are you talking? I'm not sure that Sergal or Moonstruck are talking. Zeno Mystic? Okay, Dion. Ah, that makes my life easier. Only the front row are on voice.
And me,
Okay, I won't bother
um,
asking.
but yeah, I am Dutch and I like my frikandellen.
Okay,
I actually had one today.
Garden is from Devon in the UK. So there's quite a range of countries that you come from, but you're mostly Anglophone, I would say. You're kind of English speakers if as a second language.
I would say primarily, just by the fact that that's the language that we communicate in. But yes, there are many people here who are, it may be their second language, but it's they're bilingual or multilingual.
And Ancient says he's from Germany. And Ancient, are you actually supporting the football? Binky is from Scotland. And when I say football, I mean soccer.
It actually touches on a very important point about the moles. I could bring up. I mean, I could tell you where everybody in the back row is from,
Right.
but I won't, because
Okay.
one of the things that we were very protective of in LDPW is we don't talk about each other's real lives or personal lives, or I know
Yeah.
may know or may not know who a mole's alt is, but we don't discuss that with anybody outside of the LDPW. It's just a matter of respect and privacy, which we are very big about. I mean, you could tell me, you could ask me where Garden's from. I could tell you, but unless he's telling you, or I know that he does not, care if anybody knows that, I'm not gonna discuss that with anybody.
Of course.
Yeah.
Quite a few are now sort of saying where they're from, so.
We'll let them
like
do that. Not,
Yeah.
we're
It's
not
the
gonna give them
code.
now.
Maximus has said it's the code of
Yes,
Omerta.
it very much is.
Yes, that's great. So, can I ask you, front row people, how did you become involved in Second Life and what draws you to this platform creatively? Going to start this time with Cronus.
Yeah, I joined Second Life around 2016, I think. So I haven't been here particularly too long. And I joined because a friend suggested it to me. And I pretty soon started meshing little bits and uploading them, and then created a store. And a few years down the line, I applied to be a mole. And that's where I am today.
That's great. So, Abner, what about you?
I originally started in SL around 2006, I think, when it was right about when it was first kind of hitting its stride as some becoming popular and known. they had the big influx of people, and I was one of those. I heard somebody talking about it on a podcast that I was listening to, and tried it out. And I think what attracted me to it was, yeah, it was the social aspect of it, which was nice. But then the fact that you could build things and you could make things, that was really attractive to me. And I, started getting to know some people and building a few things on my own. And somebody who had their own region, their private island, asked me to, help them being an estate manager, and I was building a bunch of stuff for them. And then when I saw the whole thing about the moles, and I was like, well, I could do that. So it's like, so I sent in an application, and that's all it to Michael Linden at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Alotta, what about you?
Well, I started 14 years ago in Second Life just by trying to make my sister happy because she was insisting me into trying Second Life.
Right.
I thought it was going to last here like a month and then was going to be gone, and look at me now. But but my mistake was just the endless possibilities of making anything in creativity-wise make it happen, and things that you cannot make in real life. I ended up studying arts in real life, and this was like the perfect canvas to make so many things come true. And that was like a huge thing for me. So then I met Patch, and he offered me this job, and I was like, of course. That's how I ended up here.
And what about you, Notta?
Let's see. I started in 2006 as well. At the time, I was a gamer playing a game called EverQuest and also playing World of Warcraft. And a friend of mine called me, and he's like, "You got to come try this out." And I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "It's called Second Life." I'm like, "Okay, what do you do?" He's like, "We do whatever you want." I said, "Well, how do you level up?" He goes, "You don't." And I said, "Well, how do you get more powerful?" He goes, "You don't." I said, "So what do you do?" Well, he knew I played The Sims purposely just to make houses. So he's like, "You can build whatever houses you want." And so I gave it a try, and for a very long time, I did custom builds and custom avatars and terraforming for custom regions and everything. And then a couple years ago, I became a mole. This is going to be my second year in August.
Right. And Itza, what about you?
I started in 2007. I had a friend who said to come in, and back then there was like a huge, it still exists, radio station who had a region here in Second Life, and their famous DJs were also playing in Second Life. So I wanted to check it out, and yesterday was my first rest day. I always wanted to work for Second Life, of course, but always thought, oh, no, I'm not capable, or I'm not good enough, or until a friend of mine pointed me on the fact you really need to apply, which I did, and here I am a year later.
That's great. So, how did most of you become moles? Did you apply, or did Patch tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I want you"?
Both.
Right?
Yeah, otherwise we don't get the job. I think what it is how you stand in as a Second Life resident, and even though you think that you won't be noticed, you will be noticed, and if you have the correct attitude and the work to show, and there isn't an opening for a job at Linden Lab, then yeah, you just apply and you'll see if you get invited if you get invited for an interview or not.
Right.
Yeah, I actually applied after watching Meet the Moles in 2016.
Haha.
Wait, no, sorry, not 2016. 2 years ago. I went back in time for a
Right.
moment then. And
Right.
yeah. I got invited to an interview a few months later.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it varies. When I started, it was they had put out this call for people who were interested. That's when was when the whole LDPW thing started, and
Hmm.
we applied like that. But now, it may be somebody who stands out, that we say, hey, we think this person might make a good mole. Maybe we should reach out to them and see if they're interested.
Hmm.
Or people who are interested will send an email, I think, to Derek usually. All right, and
Mhm.
don't quote me on that. I'll let Patch say who to contact. But yeah, and then we'll look at their work and say, okay, is this somebody that we think might be good mole material? And then it kind of goes from there.
Mhm. So, Patch, do you have anything further to say to that?
Yeah, the current application process stands as he described it. Best thing to do is to email Derek at lindenlab.com with your interest, and we usually like to get a little bit of a resume and maybe a sampling of your work or a portfolio of your work where we can go see it and such. And then we'll kind of go from there.
Fantastic. And are you always looking out for moles? Patch?
Yeah, we're always keeping our eyes open to add to the team. The team right now actually could use a couple of really well versed and versatile mesh content creators, who also know how to texture builds and things. We could probably use some clothing riggers, folks that do clothing and avatar stuff. And yeah, we can always use a couple more decorators too for Linden Homes regions.
Of course, you're designing new avatars, so yes, I can see that you'd need clothing riggers for that.
Yep, we're gonna need clothing riggers for that. Maybe somebody does hair, some other little bits and pieces and accessories.
Do you ever kind of just get in those things, commission someone to make hair and then that's it, they don't become moles?
No, not really. Our projects are so long running that it's kind of hard to commission a one and done piece of content for us versus saying, hey, we want a whole ensemble of things done and we'd like to bring you on board and have you as part of the team for a while. That's not to say it doesn't ever happen, but sometimes.
So if any of you are interested in a long-term job in Second Life, maybe you ought to put in an application to be a mole. And there are some areas like animations and scripting, which I guess are important, and not just content creating in terms of building houses and things that you need.
I'm going to say definitely yes. I mean, when we build our content, we build it, from the ground up, from the meshes to the animations. Very rarely do we use things that are, purchased from somebody else. Yeah, so everything that goes into it, from the mesh to the scripts to the animations to the textures, all of it, we have people who are making it here.
Right. Yeah, I I was going to say the way that the moles are dressed here, it doesn't look as though they need chopping moles because you seem to be doing the job really, really well.
Yeah, we're kind of shopaholics.
Right.
We're a
Well,
lot like other residents. We're a lot like residents in that way. Yeah, we'll be working on something and we'll see something out of the corner of our eye and we're like, oh, that's really nice, or I need an outfit for this, and start looking on the marketplace and just like everybody else does, we see things and we like, yeah, I've got some Lindens I could buy for that,
mhm.
But
Yeah, we're like
yeah.
the front line. You see most of us more than you see Linden. So we always want to have a good face. We want to make the lab look good. So
Yeah.
we try to remember
Yes.
that. Sometimes there's mistakes when we teleport to the wrong place, but
Right.
I was going to say that's a wonderful excuse for the shopping. You want to make the lab look good.
Sometimes we do get other excuses to go shopping. Like an example would be like the community regions in the Bells area.
Right.
We will sometimes use resident created content in those specific areas, just like any resident would, buy something off of the marketplace to use in their build. We sometimes do that too.
Mm.
We look for the quality of the object. Does it have proper LODs? Does it, in a way, does it meet our standards enough so that it would be a good addition to what we're doing? But yeah, sometimes we do buy sort of off the shelf things to use in one-off things. But if it's something that we're it's like we would never buy something to incorporate into a Linden home build, like one of the houses. We would never buy off the shelf doors or something like that from somebody.
Yeah.
We would create those ourselves. But if we're making a community region and we need some knickknacks and things to kind of spread around to decorate it out, yeah, we'll maybe buy some things off of the marketplace.
Right. Yeah, that sounds fair enough. You can't really buy something from the marketplace, put it in a Linden home, and then make 20 instances of it.
No. I mean, that would be, well, it'd be disrespectful to the creator, I think,
Exactly.
in a way.
Yeah.
But it's all a matter of, how much are we going to use this thing? Is this, something that's just, do we want to spend the time and the investment into creating our own version of it, or is this, just kind of a little one-off thing that we're doing, kind of to add to what we built, and it's not going to be spread across 100 regions.
Right. So what's on the roadmap for the moles this coming year?
Oh, that's a big question. There's a lot. And we touched on this earlier in the week. We have several more home themes coming. We have ongoing work with the new user experience region. We have the new starter avatar. We have a kind of a game type tie-in thing that we're working for Halloween coming up. We'll have some other seasonal things for the end of the year too. And that's already takes us basically to the end of the year, and then it's off to 2022.
Yeah, with the Winter Wonderland, then I Love You, then going all the way through again. So, have you all been able to see much of the exhibits here at the birthday? Apart from building some of them.
I have seen a lot of the exhibits because I assisted Squeaky and Missy with the exhibitors. And they look all amazing. The quality, it's if anyone sitting in the audience and you have not been yet, I'd say go, take time, coming days, and check them out. It's really a joy to see the creativity. It's amazing. One word, amazing.
Right. Definitely then.
I only been to one region because I've been working too much, but so far what I saw in that region was pretty awesome. I think the exhibits is always I go when there's less people going around, like in the last couple of days, and I just visit all the things. But it's always very fun to visit exhibits.
Right. Nota?
Wow, you caught me taking a bite of pizza. I've actually planning, like a lot of, I have been really busy. And I was hoping to go this weekend to look around because I love looking around at all the exhibitors' creations and everything, and the creativity that makes SL what it is.
Right. What about the rest of you?
Well, I would like to say that I have been roaming around the exhibit regions a little bit, so I've seen a few. Sadly, I haven't had enough time to look closely at them. But I'm definitely planning on doing that as of next week when the live events kind of slow down or have ended after Sunday.
Mhm.
I'm actually going to take my time to view them. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Right. Anyone else want to say?
I've been around. Mostly what I like to do is I like to take the pod tours and just kind of
Yes.
go into mouse look and camp around while the pod tours are going. That's an easy way to do it, and it's I don't have to walk.
Right.
It's like, oh no, and that's also good because if I accidentally walk off and fall in the water, people are gonna and oh, the mole fell in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pod tours are a really good way to go around and see things.
I love the pod tours. Yeah, and another good example of volunteers working to develop stuff for the SL birthdays, Second Life birthdays, because then you can. I mean, because it's Yavanna Clanfair and someone working with her now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which
yeah,
is really
they're
cool.
excellent. I like them. I
Mm,
I like them a lot.
Right. Now, I have some questions that are coming from the audience, so get ready for audience questions. Skylar Pancake asks, would it be possible for Linden Lab to organise a grid-wide or even Belisaria-wide scavenger hunt?
Well, we could. In fact, we kind of had a game that was supposed to go grid wide, and we never really kind of got it out there. But Linden Homes happened.
Yeah.
Huh?
Was that the one
The
with
glitches.
the glitches? Yeah.
Yep. Tyre and the Curse of the Magical Glitches.
Mm.
It was supposed to be kind of a scavenger huntish type game and or capture the critter sort of thing. And priority shifted and Linden Homes happened.
So Skylar also asks, how about creating a central region that has portals going to all the Linden Lab maintained created locations of either current or historical importance, like the Portal Park, but showcasing and guiding people to places like Galaxy, Linden Estates Office, Magellan's Hunt Island, etc.
Yeah, I'd actually thought about doing something like this with Tapestry of Time. And we have some thoughts around that. I don't know where they'll go, but yeah, kind of like a hub of sorts to all of the things over time. Seems to dovetail nicely with something like Tapestry of Time. We'll see. I mean, it's something that the team will have to go away and talk about and consider and see if it's something we can land on the roadmap in a reasonable time.
I've always found it fun to go to that island that's made up of that has a tourist office, and you can click on all the different locations there and go off and explore them. Quite a lot of the early ones, like the oil tanker and the Greek village and things like that. I can't remember what it's called. It's on an island off the mainland coast. It was built in about 2012, I think. Can anyone remind me what it was called? I think Garden built quite a bit of it. It's not a carnival. No, it's not. It takes you to those places, but it's an island off the south coast of the mainland. It's a little town. Barney Bay. Yes. Yes, it's Barney Bay. And if you look it up on the map and go over there, there's lots of things there, like a little pub where you can get a drink. But there's also a tourist office, and it takes you to a lot of the early mole builds.
Now that everybody's talking about it, that might be Moleborough. You might be thinking of Moleborough, because I know at one point you put some of those in the big building in Moleborough, which, if anybody doesn't know, Moleborough was a region that we had set up where the moles could have their own little quote unquote house. Honestly, we're so busy with working, we don't have time to really spend there. I turned mine into a pub. That might be the pub that you're thinking of, but in the big building in Moleborough, we did at one point have portals to some of the places, sort of like the portal park. So that might be what it is. I don't remember if we had anything like that in Barney Bay. We may have. We have done it in both. Yeah, it might be something we could do. We just have to look and see if it's up to Patch. Let's just put it that way. If he wants us to do it or not.
Okay. Right. So Meg Heavenly has asked, what about a Domo class for building for new players? I'm not sure what a Domo class is. Perhaps people can tell me. But a class for building for new players.
I want to say, I mean, there are resident groups that already do that. What is it called? Builders Brewery. I think they're still around. That does that.
Yes. And
there's,
think
the Ivory Tower Prims, where you could learn how to do a lot of that stuff that was more geared towards the old school way of building with primitives, not as much with like the mesh thing, I think. But
There's
yeah,
also, I think you can do classes via some of the gateways like NCI and the Firestorm Gateway, and also Caledon Oxbridge, because they have classes on all sorts of things.
yeah. To a large extent, I think that's probably something best left to resident groups teaching each other than us teaching people how to build. Our time is much more better spent, I think, making using our skills to make content and make things for the public works. Yeah.
Okay.
Because those things already exist, and there's so and I just want to say that's one of the greatest things about Second Life is there is such a vibrant community that is willing to teach each other and learn together. And there are those things that you can search out. Just going to the search window, find building. People have classes all the time, and you can go there and learn from other residents on how to do these things.
Yes, and yes, things like Blender get taught there as well.
Yes.
Simple things
Yes.
for beginners. Yeah, you can do beginning classes. Now, Scaria Georgette asks, I just wanted to know if they could tell us about more about what they have planned for the Halloween event in Bellisaria. I think that would be dreadful to know in advance. Because it's got to be a secret till you go there and go, oh, wow, wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think we want to talk about it too early because there's probably still a couple features we're working through to make sure that we know exactly what we're going to bring to the table when it's time.
Okay, Diamond Merchant asks, do moles mind hearing about Bellisaria Covenant issues, or should that all really go via the AR process?
I would say, I mean, the thing about the covenant issues is we realize that, and I think everyone should remember that most people simply don't know. And if you, I mean, there's times I'd be flying around or working on something and I notice, somebody has like their orb tries to send me home, which it can't, but, and I'll you message them and say, hey, just so you know, this isn't allowed here, and direct them to the covenant. Most of the times they simply haven't read it and they don't know. And once they do read it and they know, they're like, oh, okay, thank you, I didn't know, I'm sorry. And sometimes I don't want the groups and the chats and the things to get into this whole thing of uh reporting each other to us or anything like that. Honestly, I think the best thing you should do if you see somebody who's violating the covenant is to message them and say something. Yes, you might get a rude answer back, in which case you just, all right, whatever. Just like, okay, fine. But yeah, in that case, then I think in that case you would want to abuse report it. But we don't. I mean, we're spending our time actually building these things. We don't have a lot of spare time. If we see something that is a violation, we will usually say something, but we also don't want to be spending all of our time chasing down everybody who's sending us a message to, hey, so and so did this and they're not supposed to, and it's like, yeah. We'd much rather probably have those go through the actual system of abuse reporting, or like I said, before you even abuse report it, just let the person know. They may thank you and say, oh, I'm sorry, thanks, oh, thank you for pointing that out for me. I would hope so, because that's the neighborly thing. And the thing about Bellisaria is it is a community, and we're hoping that it continues to be a community in that way, helping people, helping each other.
Which is great. I mean, that's one of the great things about Bellisaria.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It brought back that feeling of, 2006, 2007, when SO was still new and people were, they were finding friends, and that's why you see so many people now whose accounts are 10, 12, 15, now almost 18 years old because they found a community of people and friends in here.
I know that I was just thinking one of my first experiences in Second Life, I had a problem with something and I contacted the help. And it was when it was kind of residents who used to help people. And someone was giving me instructions and I clearly wasn't getting it. And he said, okay, let me teleport you over and I can probably show you. So I said, thank you, that's great. And he teleported me over there. And when I got there, he was actually a centaur wearing a smoking jacket and smoking a pipe. And I just thought, I love this. This is so wonderful. I want to be part of this. And he sorted me out as well, you know. So yeah, kudos. So I've got another question from Skylar Pancake. Can we bribe the moles into giving us a sneak tour of Mole Island?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. We don't respond to bribery.
Okay.
Nope.
And
Sorry.
you wouldn't do a sort of regularly scheduled tour for people to explore it?
No. There's too many things over there that are still in the works and secret.
Okay. So Prokofi Neva asks, the moles are closer to the resident base than any of the Lindens. What makes new users not retain? And what makes them stick, in your view? And if the answer is Belissaria, what exactly about this experience works? And how could it be encouraged?
I think that's a good question for everyone to answer, but I just wanted to say it goes back to what I just said, which is community. That, you come in here and you find other people who maybe from the other side of the world, but I mean, people are people everywhere. And you meet somebody and you have common interests, and that's what really keeps new users coming back, is finding other people with similar interests, or finding interests that they didn't even realize that they had, and exploring those, and becoming a part of that community. And I don't want to say that Belissaria is that thing, but it does have that element of community that it's kind of brought back, that I think Second Life kind of lost to a certain degree. I think a lot of the community kind of segregated itself into its little areas and didn't have anything to do with each other, and and that's something I want to touch on, is that people were getting, how we all joke, oh, there's a noob, and we joke about how their noobishness and all of that, but I think we all need to remember that we were all newbies once. And we all had, I mean, look in your inventory, find your very first profile picture. You didn't look any better than they do, but somebody helped you, somebody talked to you, you became friends, you explored, you grew, you evolved. And that's really what it is. Bringing in those new people to say, hey, hey, you're new. Yeah. Come over here. Let me show you some stuff. Isn't this cool? And I think that is what keeps people here, is finding other people more than anything else.
Would any of you like to add to that?
I will only like to add that it's more of the community thing, though. But I mean, sometimes even in the simple as when people is waiting for the new regions to pop, because they already know, they've seen movements, they see some stuff, and you see how they're accumulating one spot. only with that, the community that forms in there with all of them talking, sharing that moment, is very pretty to see. It's something that I wish never goes away from Second Life, because it can become very cold. It's a social experience, sure, but sometimes can be very cold if you don't have that community factor. And I think Linden Homes has expanded that into an incredible level. It's just very nice to see from this side, you know.
It is. I drifted away for a little bit because the builders community I belonged to was gone. And when I came back, I drifted around until one day I sat down and opened up Reddit to read with my lunch. And I saw them talking about New Linden Homes. So I logged in, I cleared all my stuff out, and I went and got one on the first day. And I'm looking at everyone talking in chat here, and I recognize so many names that were there the first day with my resident in Belisaria. And I love seeing the community flourish and grow and still remain close.
I wonder if it might make people retain their membership if, see what you think of this idea, if new residents got a home for 30 days.
Maybe. We've done some experimentations around that
Mhm.
before, a decade ago.
Right.
Back then, I remember the results of it were kind of interesting, because when we did it, it took a lot of hand-holding, right? You know, a lot of what we've just talked about, people helping other people, and you know, getting them you know, set up and situated. And one of the larger concerns, I think, of the time was scalability. You know, how do you scale the people to help out with those sorts of things, like getting people, you know, set up with a home and getting maybe their first furniture placed and their avatar. I mean, all of that stuff. And so we didn't tackle it at the time. But maybe now, since virtual spaces in general aren't so few and far between, and with other platforms out there, Roblox and some of the others exist, you know, maybe we don't have to focus that deep down on a lot of the very, we'll call it simple tasks, like how to walk. I think most people kind of maybe understand the concept of how to walk using a keyboard and such, whereas a decade or more ago, it may still not have been as well known a concept to us or to them as it is to us. So things have changed. The times have changed. And as part of the New User Experience project, it is certainly something that has been on our minds and thinking about how to experiment with it again.
I think it could be very cool. And, you know, it would just be for 30 days, and then they probably would need to become premium members and get a proper house.
Yeah, I think you know, we just talked previously about, you know, having classes to teach people how to build. I think it would actually be, I mean, I don't know if there are any groups out there that do that. Beneficial to teach people, you know, land management tools. Teach them how to use all of the things in the about land window and what they do and what they don't do. I see a lot of misconceptions about, you know, how things work and how things don't work when it comes to land settings.
Right.
but you kind of have to have land in order to do that. You can't, play with it on your own so much. That's the hard part of it.
Yeah. Of course, a few videos might help.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. Okay. So another question from Quibble. Could we have a complete sky city, futuristic, and an underground railway? Okay. I think this is in terms of Linden homes. Is that right, Quibble?
As for like Linden Homes for a theme,
Yeah.
when we consider the themes that we want to build for Linden Homes, there's always a few questions that we have to ask, and it's like, okay, how could this go terribly wrong? Is one of the first ones. Something like a sky city. Well, one of the first questions is, well, what do you do when people fall and fall to the ground and don't know how to get back up? Do what are going to be the complaints about that? How would walkways work? Are we just going to let them fly everywhere? Are people going to be building, if it's a sky city and they can build at any level, are we going to have the houses be at the same level just in the sky, or are they going to be at different levels? And what sort of infrastructure would that necessitate? Would it even be possible? People have suggested things like underwater builds or underground. Underground is really difficult because you can't really build underground. It has to be fake ground, which is that would be extremely difficult to do, especially in a scalability. And at one point we did do an underground build on, I think, one of the social islands, and building land out of mesh, and it was interesting to say the least, because objects don't react the way the ground does or the terrain does. People have suggested things like, underwater builds for the merfolk, and we have to look at things like, is the merf folk community big enough to support thousands of houses all in that same style, or is it going to be a situation where people will go and grab those houses and then build their own island on top of the water, and then the merfolk are living under the people who are just building islands on the water?
Right.
There's all those factors that we have to take into account when we're looking at a theme to build. Everything from, is it something that's really going to be popular enough? Is it are there technical aspects that make it impossible? And we have to take all of those into account for any theme that we're considering.
Right. Avalon Crystal is asking, I'd like to know who decides what the moles create. Does Linden Lab decide and regulate? What's the process?
Depends on what we're working on. Some of the ideation comes from the moles. Some of the ideation comes from the community. Some of it is, some fever dream that I've had overnight. I mean, it could come from anywhere. And then as far as picking and choosing between what projects and stuff we work on, sure, we have a process of prioritization and picking and choosing what we're going to work on. Then there's also some other factors across the lab, like the user experience project, where we say, you know what, that's a really high priority project. It's very important for us to do as a business, and so we're going to do that too. And between that and our Linden Homes projects and our other little game projects and content and things that we make, the team very much decides what we're gonna work on and such together, I retain, I guess ultimate veto power, as it were, over the whole process. But in general, I feel like we all kind of get to decide, and the entire team has a hand in deciding what we're working on.
Excellent. Okay. Phil Carlsfeld asks, do the moles use those spider machines in Second Life? Or is it other Linden lab folks that use them? Spider machines? What are those?
I am not sure.
Right.
We have crabs. I mean, we don't have crabs. There are crabs on an island.
Okay. And what do the crabs do?
Abner knows more about these crabs than I do. He'd have to talk about them.
So you're saying that I have crabs?
That's
I
what
mean,
he
there's the
said.
radioactive ones. There's the non-radioactive ones.
Okay, the story behind the crabs. There's an island in Bellisaria that I called it Krabby Island. It's a place you teleport your friends when they're they're a little hangry and they're getting a little crabby. But anyway, we had these crabs that we had made and that we were going to put on the beaches around Bellisaria, and we kind of thought that might be a little lag intensive. We thought, okay, that we don't want to add to the lag. We want to make these regions efficient. And we thought, for what it is and what it's going to do as far as region performance, let's not put the moving crabs out around the regions where the people's houses are. That's just it's a little unnecessary for what's going on in there. But we still had them. So we had an island that was off in a region that didn't have any houses in it. So I just put a ton of them on that island, and they sit there all day just walking back and forth. I think there's one that we scaled up, so it's like giant, huge. It's like the big, giant King Kong mama crab. Yeah, we have those crabs. I don't know if that's what he's talking about with spider things or what, but that's the story behind the crabs. Anyway.
Right. Well, I'll certainly have a look for it.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. And there's other self-replicating critters. Well, maybe they're not critters. They're more like objects, animated buildings. How would we describe those?
I'm trying to think what you're talking about.
The windmills.
Oh. Yes, those are animated, but they're not really. They're not animals.
Right. But they do. They're self-replicating. It's like a family of them.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
I don't. Please elucidate.
Okay. Well, we're building the live region. I say building the live regions, as opposed to the regions that were made as clones of templates. We're building that. When we connected the continents, we did it with the chalet homes, and there's like a river that goes through the chalets, up towards, goes past Muhlenbach where the Drunken Mouse is, and it goes up to reach Satori. And on one of those regions, like I said at the beginning of the interview, I looked at it and I said, okay, we can't really get enough houses on this to warrant making it a full region, but let's do something interesting with it. And we took the windmill build that we put in some of the chalet regions, and we have like 5 of them all along that coast. And then Patch came to me and said, it was like a whole family of them. Can they have babies? I'm like, well, let me see. And I took one, and I was actually able to shrink the mesh down to where it's about the height of my avatar. And Moon had decided to replicate. In the Victorians, Lost Mole did a thing where he made Belisaria text out of flowers, and it has the whole flower beds that say Belisaria. And she replicated that right in front of those windmills. I want to say I'd have to look at see where it is on the map, but it's you can't miss it. It's 5 giant windmills, okay? But she replicated that with some of the flowers from the chalets, and we actually used that tiny little windmill as the dot on the eye. So
Oh, cute.
they're having babies. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
How they do
So
that,
there's-
I don't know. But they do it in the middle of the night, thankfully. So
It's like a whole little flock of windmills and families and stuff. I just had this horrendous thought, though, Abner. What if the crabs got a hold of them and ate them?
I don't know. They'd probably move in. So, they may be living in there now. So be careful if you go there, Oh, that was the other thing. When you on this tiny little windmill, we had to take the internal bits out. It still has the part that spins, but you had to take the internal bits out.
Right.
But if you click on the doors and windows, they still open and close. So I don't know. The crabs may have gotten in there and they're living in there. So be careful if you go and see it, because you might get crabs.
Yeah. Have to watch out. Okay. Aquarius Denimore says, my idea would be to have a Second Life court system as in real life, where you could have criminal court and family court with lawyers and jurors. Those found guilty could have to pay small fines, etc., or go to jail. Well, that sounds a bit like a role play for people who would have fun playing it.
Can we call it drama court?
Could I be Judge Judy?
Yeah, why not?
Hey, yeah, do that as residents and film it, put it on YouTube. I'm sure that would be popular.
Yeah. Okay, well, if some people like Aquarius would like to do that, go for it.
Yeah, just
I'm sure people would
I
like
can see
to
it
do.
now.
Oh yeah.
The
Dun,
cornfield
dun,
court.
Dun, 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 dun. And today we're hearing
Yeah.
the case against the meanie pants.
Right. Meanie
Yeah.
pants, yes.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Second Judge Ruth. Yeah.
Judge Ruth would be funny. That would be funny.
That
Judge
would be
Ruth.
good. Yes. A new crab court. Yeah, you get thrown to the crabs.
Does it say newbie on my head? Yeah.
Okay. Question from Quibble. Do you see a time when avatars can use real life photos to construct real life replica avatars? So you take a photo, bring it into Second Life, and be able to use it to create an avatar. I think there was something like this years and years ago.
Yeah, there have been attempts at doing this, and there continue to be attempts at doing this over the years and time and such. And I have personal feelings about that. It can probably be a little polarizing and even opinionated and stuff. I mean, my general take on it is for people who want to be able to do that and stuff, yeah, it would probably be really cool for them to be able to do so. I don't know if the ability to really map something like that will ever come to fruition, and that's, I think, what a lot of people that have attempted to do it have struggled with over time. But there's probably a little piece of me too that kind of steps back and says, but I don't want to look like myself in real life in Second Life, because that's not what I want to be, or I want to be something completely different. So,
Mm,
I'm not sure if I'm sure there's a use case for it. I'm not sure it's a real big use case. Um,
mm,
and I'm not sure if it'll ever be really successful because of the difficulties in that mapping. That would be a pretty challenging thing to figure out. We have created very successfully a lot of lookalike avatars and stuff, especially for TV and movie personalities and such that have come into Second Life, and we've done projects with. In fact, we've got several in the works now and
mm,
stuff, and they just look fabulous using what other content creators already have out there that we can basically source and use to
mm,
build an avatar that basically looks really close to them. Like if you were to say, oh, Dr. Phil as an avatar looks like this, well, we built Dr. Phil an avatar and he looked like Dr. Phil, and we
right.
didn't do anything special other than very carefully, meticulously pick and choose skin and design the shape and get all of his outfit and hair right and
Mm.
stuff, and he came out looking great. That's just one example.
We've done it for Litfest with writers who appear on Litfest. For example, we did Elizabeth Bear, and Elizabeth was really impressed and said, "That looks so like me, except with much better hair." So she was very pleased about that. And we did the same with Fran Wild. So yeah, that's. I think it's cool actually building with the tools that already exist. And one of the things about using real life photos, of course, as someone just pointed out in chat, that you could end up with a lot of intellectual property violations if people decided they wanted to look like an existing film star and actually use the film star's picture when they had no connection with the film star at all.
Yeah,
So,
I understand the want, the desire to make your
mm,
avatar look exactly like yourself in real life, and that's one of the options you can do. Um, I've always thought also that this is a world where you can be anything or look like anything you want to be, and when you have that much freedom, what you
mm,
choose to look like when you're not constrained by the real life restrictions of your actual physiology, um, says a lot about the person you are more than what your real actual uh, body looks like.
mm. I've got a question here. It's an interesting one from Nyara, which says, are there ever big topics where everyone is asked for an opinion? And if so, what was the latest topic that the whole team was really divided on?
I can think of one. It's not
Okay.
particularly suitable for work, but we had to have a conversation on what was the correct anatomical sizes of certain body parts. And it was a very hot button issue for a while.
Right. That's interesting. Is that because of the design of the new avatar?
It's for various things. So, when it comes to creating an outfit or designing an avatar, we kind of have
Mm,
to decide on what is an acceptable scale for things. So,
yeah.
that's part of the building process. We have to have some very interesting conversations at times.
Mm,
It's one of those conversations that, we just kind of shake our head and go, if people only knew what I talked about at work, they would never believe it.
yeah. Yeah. It sounds like the squirrel conversation. I can't remember who told me about that. But actually, someone was hearing Michael Linden years and years ago talk to someone, and it was after there was a rule about, adults being adult only on adult regions. And someone was saying, but I'm a 6-year-old squirrel. That makes me an adult because squirrels only live to about 10. I'll never get to be like 30 years old. And Michael was saying, I don't think it matters. Desperately.
Yeah, I think that was just one of those things where he was more concerned with people using it as a premise to get around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think, unless B has any more questions for me, we've basically come to the end of the questions. No, I've just got a note card called Even More Mole Questions. Just a few. Mystery Melon asks, before you became a mole and could use the mole sandboxes, what was a favourite build area for you?
Well, I actually had my own private island, so that's where I would build.
Right.
I mean, early days I would go to, the sandboxes that everybody was using. Of course, these back in those days it was grief or heaven. But yeah, I think it was a good that when the lab decided to have premium sandboxes. So if you wanted to get away from that, you could always go to those. But yeah, and even adult sandboxes where if you're working on something of a mature nature, you could go there. But yeah, I always had my own island to work on things.
Anyone else want to answer that?
Pretty much kind of like what Abner said. For a good chunk of my time, I had my own private land, and that's where I built. And when I didn't, usually I would seek out the premium sandboxes. There were less griefers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the proud owner, well, not owner because I was renting, but of a very small parcel in mainland. So I would just make things in the sky secretly because I was too ashamed to go to one of those sandboxes. but then when I was with somebody in Second Life and they will have like their own land, they were like, "Can you give me just like a couple of minutes and try something really fast?" And I would just mess their land with the terraforming and try stuff really fast and go away. That was my system, but
Lana
Yeah.
still does that today. He comes up and says, "Yeah, can you? Yeah, give me terraform rights on your land real quick."
I know, right?
Like, no, not again.
I want to make a mountain.
Oh, the worst thing you want to do is try to terraform when you have allergies. One wrong sneeze and you got a hole you're taking 3 hours to fix.
Yeah. That is why an undo button would be really cool. Okay, question from Scala Georgette, and I apologise for mispronouncing your name earlier, Scala. I'd like to ask if there will be trailer-style homes available on a large 1024 plot at some point for the folk who like to have a yard to decorate.
I don't think we have any plans to do that currently. the difficulty with that is it would have to be an entirely new, for technical reasons, it would have to be an
Sure if we
entirely
should.
right. The question is, should we? Because again, we get into that question of, what are the downsides of this? How could this go terribly wrong? And one of the concerns is with something like that would be if the trailer is there, how do we keep people from just building a house over it or around it, or doing things that ruin the atmosphere of what is essentially like a park trailer campground. Add on to the fact that for technical reasons it would have to be a completely new house, really, from a build and quality assurance standpoint, that and then it has to get worked into the system where it has to be on a 1024 parcel, and the system has to identify that it's a 1024 parcel and not a 512, and it gets very complicated very quickly. It's not as simple as just making the parcels bigger.
Okay, Maya Takeda. Abner mentioned that you guys need more mesh riggers for the new Avatar project coming. I think it was Pat you mentioned that, maybe.
Yes.
If we're not a mole yet and we'd like to contribute, to whom should we refer to contribute? Well, I think they're looking for people to actually join as moles, so it'd be the usual thing of writing to Derek Linden. How do we spell Derek? Can someone spell it out for me? Because there are various ways of spelling it. Thanks. Thanks, Dion. So if you want to help with that and you'd be happy to become a mole, then you write to derek@lindenlab.com. Oh, actually, I think that's probably quite a treat. There's some very good-looking moles.
I'm just flashing back to Al on Home Improvement. Yeah, that's Derek@lindenlab.com. DER. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, how do the moles get their names? I think that you choose them yourselves, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I chose mine.
Yeah, I chose mine too. I wanted to fit Nota and Alotta's name.
And we got our dream of sitting together now.
Finally, yes, we've been waiting all year for that.
It's a lot of moles.
It's happening.
Yes. We all choose our own names usually when a new mole comes on board. They'll give, of course, it all has to go through approvals. So they'll give them a list of like 3 names in order of preference, and then Patch and Derek look at it and say, is that possible? Yes. Does that mean something naughty or dirty that isn't going to fly? No. And it's like, okay, yeah, that works then.
Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end of the questions, so I'm actually going to say thank you very much to all the moles who've joined me today, including...
I kind of want to jump in, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yes.
But Strawberry has one more question.
Oh,
She wants to know the
what's
details about special projects, and she wants us to spill the beans.
Right. Is this because Patch can't respond at the moment and shut you all up?
Fine, I'll do it. Beans. Beans is the next theme. We're gonna have bean houses. They're just all beans. With pork and beans in the cupboards.
Beans
Fine.
with boots.
And the one after that are cats, where I'm letting the cat out of the bag.
Cat homes is
right,
going to
cat
just
homes,
be huge.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I wonder what secret projects Strawberry wants us to talk about.
I guess she's
Uh,
referring to the projects like NFLA or Titmouse, maybe.
Yeah, so sometimes we have special projects. So a client will contact us who's interested in having a presence in Second Life or running an event. We talk to them, we work out the details, and we build the project for them. So we've seen that before with the Titmouse Smash Party and the 5-second animation event, the Adult Swim Shivering Truth Season 2 premiere, the NFLA. And we've got some more coming pretty soon, actually, within the next couple of months. So there'll be some super special projects coming. We do have an update group. If someone could pop the group link in chat, where everyone can be kept up to date with what's going on and all of these super special projects. Because some of them won't be announced until they're actually happening, so it's good to keep up to date.
That's fantastic. Great. Well, if you want to stay informed, join that group. Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end now. Thank you, everyone, for contributing. Thank you to the moles and to Patch. And thank you to the audience, too, for all your questions. It's been a brilliant session. So thank you all very much.
Thank
you for having us
Saffia.
again.
Till next year. I'm going to have me back next year.
Yes. See you at SL19B.
Yeah. I think you'll see me before that because we're going to come and do Designing Worlds over at the new Linden homes.
Yes, this is very true.
So thank you all very much.